Well, hi there, everyone. Lisa Jane Lewis here. I don't know where you're listening to me, whether it's on the podcast or on radio or even on Eurovision Ireland's web YouTube channel. However it is you're hearing me and seeing Dave, who I'll introduce in just a second. It's really great to have you with us. I thought this would be a really interesting dive into the workings of how some Eurovision selections take place. Of course, we have national finals, and everyone gets to see those people who enter and who don't make it. But when it comes to internal selections, very often we never knew who else was in the mix. But sometimes we do. And today we've got one of those people with us. Dave McKendry, say hello to everyone, first of all. Hello.
Hello, hello.
Lovely to have you with me for this little chat. So
Lovely
let's
to be
talk
here.
about this internal selection.
Hmm.
You were in the mix in Austria,
Yeah,
in ORF. So let's just talk about the process of that and what you had to do to get through into that process, into the sort of final group that was selected.
sure. I guess I first became aware of a public sort of call out for anyone who wanted to submit songs from a friend and journalist here, a friend, someone I know and like and admire. Um, and uh, and when I saw it, I thought, cool, they're taking applications for the Eurovision, and didn't for a moment think that I would be submitting anything. At the same time, I was finishing up recording for a song in the studio, and my producer said to me, "Hey, we should really pitch this," and I laughed at him. And after about 1 week of having that go through my head on repeat, I thought, "Oh my God, I might actually need to try this." Specifically because of the song, I never really thought that I would be at all fitting for Eurovision. But something about this song made me feel like actually this is a song that I could stand up in front of people and perform. And so we pitched, and I, to be honest, that was probably the most important part of the process for me personally, coming to that decision to, I'm actually going to give this a go. That was a huge deal for me. And I found out, I don't know the time scale anymore. It's been a bit of a blur, to be honest, but eventually at some point we found out we'd been chopped down to the last 15, and that was lovely, because I had no idea, is it laughable that I pitch or not? I had no idea. And of course you've no idea who and what you're up against either. And so last 15, we had to go to the ORF to perform, and that's a case of singing twice in front of the camera, singing 2 takes of the song in front of the camera after a brief introduction of yourself. And it just so happens that I had been in Ireland on tour, so I had to drive back from Ireland to make my appointment with the ORF. I was rather exhausted when I turned up, and completely destroyed my first take. It was not pretty. So after a laugh, I managed to deliver the second one, at least to a standard that I was happy with. And it seemed to resonate. Everyone seemed happy enough, and that was that. Just me in a dark room singing to a camera. It was very bizarre. Probably easily the weirdest quote unquote gig that I've ever played, and all over in 10 minutes. And so then
Wow.
you go and you wait and see what's going on, and I think I think they like to see, can you handle this absolutely absurd situation, because it's not remotely like there's no one there. You're not enjoying connecting with an audience. It's just bizarre. um but an interesting learning experience, I have to say. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so then I don't know for sure. I don't know for sure what the process was after that, how many people were involved and how many people went farther. I know we were invited in for talks about, yeah, all the background, what would actually need to happen, and conversations that I never thought I would be having, the the contractual stuff and the nitty gritty of what it takes to bring in artists to the Eurovision, and it is no small amount of work.
No, it is not.
No. So I was, yeah, that was a sort of a crash course. That meeting was a lot longer than me performing for the camera.
Right.
And then again, you go home and you wait, and all the feedback was fantastic, and we felt really good. I was very happy with everything we'd done, and very happy with my team, and proud of myself for what I'd done. And then we got the no, and that was that. And it's a bizarre feeling that you could be doing something so outrageous with such a massive audience and such a massive reach. And actually, at the end of it all, what you did is you performed in front of a camera in a dark room for no one.
For no one. Well, not for no one. I mean, for those of us who ended up watching those takes. And I think I'm allowed to say that I was on the panel. I don't think I'm allowed to say an awful lot more than that, but a lot of folk know that I'm sort of quite friendly with the team at ORF. So yeah, I was on the panel again this year to see those films that you made, those little videos, those little takes. And so that's kind of where I sort of connected with you. In fact, what I think I can say is I found you on Instagram and started following you, but I couldn't really tell you why or how or where I'd come from. So,
Yeah.
so there was an audience there, but maybe not of the scale that maybe helpful. But I think being able to do this chat actually, and to kind of put you in front of the Eurovision audience, at least to the ones that I can get this in front of, I think it's really important, because you are as much a part of the selection process for 2024 as somebody who has been through Melody Festival in Sweden, or one of the other national finals. It's just you're behind the scenes, and it's nice to be able to sort of peek behind the curtain, as it were. Dave, let's talk about you as a musician, because you're an Irishman in Vienna. This is not, I was going to say, this is not normal. I've been to Vienna much. I've not met many Irishmen living over there. So tell us a bit about your journey and your sort of musical career. How come you're an Irishman in Vienna?
The very short answer is completely unplanned happenstance. And to develop on that, I guess I always sang, and I started playing instruments with 16 when I was 16. And when I finished school, I really didn't do well in school, and my parents wanted me to repeat my final year. And I agreed to go to a college to repeat my A levels, and pretended to do that for a year while instead going to a friend's house to write songs with them. So after that year, my results came in and they were worse than the ones I left school with. And that kind of sealed my fate. I was just determined to be a songwriter from that point on. Now, I had no idea what that meant. This was very much stumbling around in the dark and finding inspiration. And that basically continued for the next 10 years. I worked on my own, and I worked with bands, traveling around Ireland and the UK in very DIY tours, some horrible dietary choices, and very, very, very poor years, let's say.
Yes.
And after 10 or so, I'd always wanted to go farther, and we just hadn't made it beyond the UK, and I couldn't do it anymore. I loved the bands that I was in. I loved the music we were making, and I absolutely believed in it, but I knew it's not sustainable. And I just couldn't keep pouring my heart and soul into it. I wanted to see more of the world, and it really broke my heart. I completely gave up on music. I gave away all my instruments. I bought a bike with one of my last paychecks, and I took whatever money I had, which was not a lot, and set off around Europe with a plan to cycle all the way around the coast to Greece, then north to Nordkapp in Norway, and then back down sort of through the guts of Europe and home. And I knew that would take 3 years if I cycled 100 kilometers a day, 5 days a week. And I knew I wasn't going to cycle 100 kilometers a day, 5 days a week. So I also knew I didn't have the money to afford that. Like I didn't have the money to afford a month of that. But I left, and I thought I'd figure it out as I went. And after 3 weeks on a bike, I made it to the south of France, and I walked across Spain on the Camino de Santiago,
Mhm.
which was a very, very necessary break for my backside after 3 weeks on a bike.
Yeah.
Um, and when I was in Spain, I stayed in a place and I found a guitar, and I just fell in love again with. I mean, I never really fell out of love with music, but just being presented with this guitar was like, okay, here we go. And I started to play, and I was playing for new people every night because I lived on the Camino for about a month, no, 3 months maybe, volunteering and helping other pilgrims on their way. And so I would play for people night after night. And really, before that, I'd only played for my parents in their kitchen, and family who would come over at like 2 in the morning after a party or whatever.
Yeah.
And so everyone's drunk and they're like, "You're brilliant, you're the best in the world." And I'm falling asleep on the guitar at this point. So that's kind of the only feedback I had from me personally on my own as a solo musician, until here I am on Camino de Santiago, and people from all over the world are saying, "Hey, this is nice. Where can we hear your stuff?" And I'm thinking, I don't have stuff. So I decided then and there, I'm going to stop traveling with a bike. And I spent the last of my money on a little guitar and started traveling as a street musician. And that brought me to Vienna. I was just trying to get to Berlin. I knew nothing about Vienna. I knew nothing about Austria. I knew there were mountains and that I hoped to see some on my way back down through Europe. But chance brought me there a lot sooner. And on my second day, I was busking on the street when a young woman stopped in front of me and mistook me for one of her friends and invited me to a singer-songwriter circle when she realized I wasn't one of her friends. And I thought, singer-songwriter circle sounds very hippie, and I'm gonna maybe pass on that. But then I heard her playing a song and she was unbelievable. And I thought, okay, I have to check this out. And I never left. That was it. I never left.
So how long ago was that?
That's about, it's coming up on 7.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Incredible. So Vienna is now very much home, right?
Vienna is very much home. And I still make a point of getting out around Europe. I actually head off on the 29th of February. I head off on tour around Germany, and I'll be
Right.
back again in April. Yeah, so I have different shows coming up throughout the year. I love getting out and around Europe, and I also love heading back to Ireland to see the family and friends. But Vienna is home, yeah.
And I was going to ask you about that island because you said right before doing the audition or the performance to camera for the internal selection, you were in Ireland touring. So where's home in Ireland? Where did you grow up?
Belfast in the north. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's home for better or worse. And you know, I actually love it. It's a hard place to. I mean, I guess everywhere can be hard, but it was definitely a challenging place at that time, and there was a lot of anger in the air and a lot of frustration, which wasn't necessarily belonging to my generation, but my generation most definitely inherited it. And yeah, there's a lot of tragedy around that. But I guess I was really, really blessed with a loving family for a start, and really incredible friends actually all my life long, and incredible mentors. So I got very, very lucky, and yeah, more than a few times got steered back off the wrong path, which I, being not the most uh well behaved, I was very, very happy to wander off down the wrong
Sure.
path. I got pulled back more than a few times, which I'm very, very grateful for now. At the time I wasn't so grateful. And yeah, I guess I grew up just on the edge of the city, and when I was 15 we had to move house because our house was attacked. And you know, that was kind of the story of my early, from about 8 until 15. That was that kind of story. And eventually we moved house, and that's when I first came across a guitar. And
Right.
then playing in bands would have taken me outside of the city. And I mean, I used to camp all over the island as a kid, so all over the island, sorry. I really love the whole of the island. And I spent a lot of time up the north coast then playing in bands, and a lot of time wandering through the Mourne Mountains. Although living in Austria, you soon realize that the Mourne Mountains are the Mourne
Hills.
Hills, but
Yeah.
can't really say that to anyone back home. So yeah,
Yeah, no, it's definitely a different type of mountain in Austria. I think it's fair to
yeah,
say.
absolutely.
Although less so in Vienna, they are more out
Hmm.
in
True. I'm a little more at home
in
here.
the West. Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about your music then. You've been sort of there 7 years or so. How do you describe your music when you're
Oh
trying to,
man, this
or
is
you're trying to
the.
post it into a genre, or do you refuse to do that? Because I do that with
It's
mine.
not even that I refuse to do it. I should simply refuse to do it. I just can't. I'm absolutely terrible at it. And it's the one question that I really should be able to answer. I guess, and you'll see how bad I am at this, but I guess it's somewhere between indie singer, songwriter, folk pop with hints of rock.
Oh,
Sorry.
I mean, I've heard some of your stuff now, and the new single, which we'll just talk about in a second. I think that's pretty fair. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you.
I think that's good.
Thank you. Yeah, I really struggle with it, and I wish there was an easy way to put it. But I think part of the thing is, I come from when I was a young teenager, all that anger I was talking about. I was getting into Nirvana and Metallica and Rage
Yeah,
Against the Machine, and at the same time, absolutely adoring Damien Rice and Tracy Chapman. And so I do have a diverse influence, and yeah, I grew up singing Billy Joel and Robson and Jerome. This is
sure.
probably shouldn't admit that, but um,
No, I think it's
that's
okay to admit that. I think it's
yeah.
okay,
I
and it's
was too
great.
young.
It's great because you preempted my next question, which was going to be about your musical influences, and
Mm,
so yeah, hearing this kind of diverse group of
yeah,
musical influences, really from metal right through to folk, I suppose.
yeah, absolutely. And now, I actually this probably the last 8 or 9 months I've been listening to jazz a lot, and jazz is not something I ever really dove into. But I have this thing where because I'm so focused on lyrics, I really struggle to listen to music without being immediately in analysis mode.
Hmm.
So, excuse me, there's just a couple of artists that I can listen to who are singing in English where the lyrics don't matter at all, and I can switch off and just enjoy the music. Otherwise, I need to listen to instrumental music, which was almost always post rock.
Yeah.
Until now, it's jazz or foreign language music, and I can't do so much in German anymore because I understand German now.
Yeah.
So something that I don't speak at all, it just lets me take a holiday and just enjoy sound,
Yeah.
and I don't need to get into that working brain. So um,
Yeah.
yeah, jazz has creeped in there.
That's a really interesting conversation to have in the context of Eurovision as well, because a lot of people are listening to songs in languages, and more so now, that they don't necessarily understand, or they may
Yeah,
understand a few words here and there. So
yeah.
I think that's a really interesting thing. And you're sort of what you were saying, it never really occurred to you to kind of do Eurovision, or like, is this even, am I even really doing this? But actually, now talking to you, that kind of language and lyric and musical thing, it makes sense that you did Eurovision. You were always supposed to come in to this internal selection and be part of our world, even on the edges of it.
Hey, if I was there, I would love hearing all the different languages on stage and off. That's one of the massive joys for me of living on the continent and being able, Austria is bordered by nine countries.
Right.
And you really don't have to go far I mean, you don't even have to leave the city to hear so many different languages, but I can travel through Europe and be in completely different cultures all the time. And it's so invigorating, and yet, and this is the one thing that I love about going on tour, no matter where I go, two things are true. Nothing brings people together like food and music. And
Correct.
I'm just really, I can't cook to save my life, but I know how to play songs and I know how to communicate with music. And I'm massively grateful of that because it opens up these doors to me where I get to see people from all different backgrounds just being people, just interacting with each other and having a good time. It's It's a real gift, I have to say.
You just need to come to Eurovision anyway, because it's exactly that. Every year we go to a city somewhere and we listen to music of all varieties, all genres, in all different languages, and we eat loads of great food. I feel like you're part of the family.
But you guys also dance. And if you saw me dance, I would be disqualified immediately. So
No, not all of us dance, Dave. You're fine. Don't worry. Don't worry. Um, let's talk about the song that you
Yep.
submitted. Song's called Collateral. It's out now on all platforms, I would imagine, Spotify and
Mhm.
iTunes and all the Deezer
Everywhere
and
you can find it.
all the everywhere you can think to find it. It's called Collateral. Tell us about the song. That's a dreadfully cliched Eurovision question to ask, but I'm asking it anyway.
No problem. Okay, I'm going to try and do this in a way where I can still keep it relatively vague. I don't know if I can do that, but I'll try and keep it relatively vague so that other people can just feel whatever they want to feel in it. For me, I've mentioned a little about me growing up and what that was like, and the opportunities I had to go down bad roads, or yeah, quote unquote bad roads. And it's kind of about that. This having so many external influences, and not even necessarily things which okay, if in my instance, for example, there could have been drugs, there could have been any kind of violence, be it organized or unorganized, and of course there could have been paramilitary gangs. That's a
Sure,
big deal in
sure.
Belfast.
Absolutely.
But there also could have been the church, for example. And I've, growing up in Belfast or in Ireland, I was raised Catholic, and there's a lot to struggle with there. A lot of people I would speak to now would consider themselves recovering Catholics,
Yep.
and there's there's an entirely separate conversation, but there's a lot that's going on there with the church, which is also a struggle. And I don't practice at all. I'm not remotely interested in religion or anything which divides people. So it's a shame that I have to say that, because religion should be something which unites people. But in my experience, it's exactly the opposite, unfortunately. And so no matter what it is, whether it's something that is typically referred to as bad or something that's typically referred to as good, whatever these forces are from outside which pull you or try and drag you down any particular road, you then become collateral on the road to these causes. And whatever these causes say is the ultimate goal, whether it's the acceptance of your soul into heaven, or a united Ireland, or an independent Northern Ireland, or whatever it is, something external, something political or religious that doesn't actually have anything to do with you. It's just a label. It's not actually about the individual. And for me, there's nothing more sacred than us. This is, if I want to worship anything, it's the beauty in a person, not a label that we put upon them. And so ultimately, it's about walking those roads or not walking those roads and deciding to love yourself. And it sounds so very cliche, and in a way it is, but I think there's a bloody good reason that it's cliche. I mean, this really is the most important journey we can make. And my God, it was a difficult journey for me. It was a difficult journey for me. And I still don't know some days how I ever managed it. Certainly not on my own. I had unbelievable amounts of help. And yeah, I guess if it's anything at all, it's a massive thank you to everyone who saved my life. I don't know how many times, in how many different ways, including music. Music saved my life more times than I can count. So
Yeah, I think I can resonate with that one as well, from a slightly different perspective, but absolutely. I think what's really interesting is when a song is written, and I'm in the process of writing and recording an EP at the moment.
Ooh.
Yeah, like you have what you're bringing to the song and the reason that you've written it and what's behind your lyric. But then when you share it with someone else, and we just got to the stage with the first song on mine, where we played it to my musical producer, to his wife, and she had a just completely different take on it, which was beautiful as well. So
Yeah.
is that your hope really for your songs, although they've got your meaning behind them, that other people will find resonance and something in it that they can relate to?
100%. 100%. I want to, yeah, lay a and to create a space, you know, and a space where you can feel whatever it is that you need to feel. And if I can do it really well, and this is also something I try and do live, if I can do it really well, then what it means is you're creating community, because you're allowing a space for everyone to be themselves as an individual, whatever that means to them, in a surrounding where everyone gets to feel exactly that, even though that can be completely different, you know. I'll feel what I feel, and it'll change for me, you know. There's times I play a song years after I've written it, and I knew exactly what it was about when I wrote it, and then 5 years down the line I'm thinking, oh, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Because they're just signposts. They're signposts to whatever it is you need to find, you know.
Incredible. Dave, I could carry on talking to you forever. This is a really interesting discussion. But we're gonna have to roll it up. What's next for you?
Tour. I right now I have 2 songs to finish recording and producing before we hit the road. I have no idea how I'm going to do this, because I also need to rehearse for tour.
No
Then
sleep, it's fine. You can sleep later.
yeah, I'm full moon. I'm good. Who needs
Yeah,
sleep?
great.
But yeah, it's studio, road, right back to the studio. We're going to be releasing an EP on the 5th of April,
Brilliant.
and then we're going to be right back into a whole bunch more. So I've got a lot of songs to finish.
Brilliant. So people can connect with you. Is the best place Instagram? Is that where people can find you and follow you?
Yeah, I'm most active on Instagram. I've other things going on as well. There's a lot coming. I'm kicking off a Patreon. I'm kicking off a podcast. All of this is going to be coming up over the course of the year. But if you want to connect with me, then Instagram is definitely the best place to do it.
And you are at Dave?
At Dave McKendry.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Dave, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
Like I
you
said, I
so
could
much,
talk
really.
to you forever. This has been absolutely brilliant. And might you ever try again for Eurovision?
If the right song arrives, then that'll be the decider. I'm a big believer in going because the song tells me to. I don't feel the need to go there for me. That's not what it's about. So I'm not going to be trying to write a song so that I can go there. And I wasn't, you know, I've written songs for other people to go. That's not how I work as an artist. If the right song arrives and I realize, oh, this could be something, then I'll definitely try again.
Great. Well, I'm going to be just hoping some vibes come, because I would really love to see you at Eurovision.
Thank you so very much.
I think you'd be a great ambassador for yourself, your own music, and for Ireland or Austria or whoever. Dave, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I look forward to the next time, and have a great time on the road.
Thank you.
And with your EP. Good luck with your EP.
Super. Yeah, I'm nervous about that.
Good. It's a good feeling.